Hello, I'm Douglas Ruhren, curator at Delights Nursery, Juniper Level Botanic Garden. I'm hoping that my mother's not watching this video because my mom was wrong. But also the garden writer from Chapel Hill, the late Billy Hunt, said the same thing my mother taught me, that you have to wait till bulbs go dormant to transplant them. But they will tolerate being transplanted while they're in active growth. The English refer to this as transplanting them in the green. I prefer doing it while they're in active growth as opposed to waiting until they're dormant, because you can find them while they still have foliage. You can also see where the blank spots are in the garden. Our victim today is a snowdrop, a Galanthus. It's a fall blooming snowdrop, and I'm speaking of snowdrops, not the southern snowflakes. By the time the common snowdrop, Galanthus nivalis, blooms, you've already missed out on about 5 or 6 months of snowdrop bloom, because the snowdrop season starts in October. And this one that we're going to dig up and divide is Galanthus peshmenii from the Middle East, I think maybe Turkey. And it blooms in the fall for an extended period of time without much foliage at the time that it blooms, and then puts up foliage, and you can see the foliage is really lush at this time. Now, why do we transplant them? Well, some bulbs, when they get real crowded, stop blooming as well as when they're uncrowded. Some daffodils will stop blooming heavily if they get real crowded. But, some will continue to bloom nicely without being divided, but the rate of increase will be faster if the individual bulbs have room to grow. So I've pulled back the mulch in this area where we're going to expand the planting and dig up the whole clump. With a garden fork is my tool of preference. It's coming up nicely. The fall blooming snowdrops tend to produce a long series of bloom, so they tend to be in bloom longer than the winter and spring blooming snowdrops. Oh, you never quite know what you're going to find when you dig up a clump. So, now, I said that bulbs tolerate being transplanted while they're in active growth, which doesn't mean to say they're not going to grumble about it. They will often look pretty unhappy after this transplanting, but next season when they come back into growth, they won't even look like they had ever been disturbed. We're finding a range of sizes of bulbs. That's a big one. A lot of smaller ones that are not seedlings but are offsets from the parent bulb. And you in your own garden, you can choose to divide a clump into just several clumps, or you can go all the way and plant out individual bulbs. It depends on how much room you want to give to the bulb, and how much you want to multiply it. This is a real choice snowdrop, so by dividing it and planting out individually or small clumps, we'll get an even greater rate of increase. So let me loosen up this soil. The soil is not terribly moist, so An essential part of most any planting is watering them in. I always feel the first watering is the most important because not only does it hydrate them, but it also helps settle them in. Now that the soil is loosened up, I can plant these individually. And because this is winter growing and summer dormant, it can sort of share the same space in the garden with things that are active at the other end of the growing season. Well, actually, I think in climates with mild winters, the growing season is year-round, but different plants are active at different parts of that season. So pairing winter dormant things with summer dormant things, you sort of sublet the space.
You're planting all different sizes?
Yeah. Part of the reason for dividing this, the gardens here at Juniper Level Botanic Garden provides plants for the nursery, and though this isn't something we currently have in production, by dividing it down to individual bulbs so each one can grow to mature size more quickly, maybe before too many years go by, we'll be able to offer this. We offer maybe a very limited number of snowdrops, mostly Galanthus elwisii, which is often in bloom by late December, early January. If you grow enough species of snowdrops, and crocus are the same way, if you grow enough species, you can have almost 6 months of bloom, because we all think of crocus and snowdrops as harbingers of spring, but they both really start with fall blooming species, and then winter blooming species, and then spring blooming species.
And the depth you're planting them to?
Well, I'm sort of following by the white part of the stem. I guess I'm getting the top of the bulb about 1.5 to 2 inches below the soil. This individual didn't have any top growth, but it'll have top growth next spring, I trust. I should have counted how many bulbs we got out of here. It's quite a few. And these might be these might not yet be blooming size bulbs, but having been separated, they won't be competing as much with their neighbors and will more quickly get up to blooming size. The transplanting in the green is, can be done with, I'll say, most any bulbs. There's some Iris reticulata, one of the irises that grows from a bulb. Little iris that's now been done blooming for about a month. That I'm going to transplant. Oh, a brown label, that means we want to collect seed, but I didn't see any fruit on this one. I didn't show you the label. Galanthus peshmenii, named for somebody with the family name of Peshman. Galanthus is I never remember whether the names are from Latin or Greek, because though we tend to refer to the scientific names as Latin names, they're just as likely to be Latin or Greek or some other language. But Galanthus, anthus is flower, and Gal is referring to milk because the flowers are white. If you're a long-term gardener in the South, you might have been told that snowdrops do not do well in the South, but I certainly think this one is disproving that. Lydia, how many bulbs do you estimate this to be? Is it certainly at least 50? Yeah. And this was, well, let me see. This was planted in 2014, so it was probably one bulb or a very limited number of bulbs 10 years ago. And now it's increased to about 50. Oh, here's a fruit, but the fruit on a snowdrop would be more about this size. This is a fruit that didn't develop, but they're sort of teardrop shaped. You know, in my garden, I think I would like to combine this fall blooming snowdrop with cyclamen heterofolium that's fall blooming, or cyclamen silicium or mirabile, which are also fall blooming, or there's a number of very nice fall blooming crocus like Goulimii and crocus. Well, the saffron crocus is fall blooming. Crocus sativus is the saffron crocus, readily available from bulb merchants. And the saffron crocus can be grown here. You're not going to become rich harvesting the stamens. Maybe you could get enough for one pot of paella. All right, well, they're all, all planted. I'm going to soak them in. That soil was surprisingly dry for spring, but this is very well-drained soil. A thought I had that might be a question for those viewing this is about fertilizing them. We fertilize the beds in the garden based on soil tests, and we do it prior to putting down mulch. This is a bed that got mulched at some point this past winter, and I can safely say past winter, since today is the second day of spring. Well, so disregard what your mom or grandma or grandfather might have told you about waiting till bulbs go dormant. Do it while they're in growth. And I also think that us gardeners have to do things when we have the time, so have fun doing that. Thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you the next time.